one of the things that a lot of the Western media is not focusing on is that a lot of Arabic countries are not very sympathetic, it seems to me, to Gaza. And that seems to me
No,
to
they're
be
not.
that Sunni Shiite split.
Well, I wouldn't claim to be an expert, to be honest, but I know it goes back to the Battle of Karbala and the division of the, who's going to follow on from Muhammad to take on the leadership and so on. So this split has been around for a long time. Battle of Karbala was, I think, 7th century BC or something.
And this is the
Um,
Shiite Sunni split.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, not BC, 7th century AD. Yeah, the division between the Sunni and Shia. So Iran is obviously supporting both emotionally, if you like, but also with money and resources and training and so on. People like Hamas, people like Hezbollah, and a lot of terrorism around the world. On the other side of the coin is Saudi Arabia and countries like Bahrain and UAE and so on, and they are definitely not pro Hamas. It's why, notwithstanding what's been going on in Gaza and the way that Israel has taken this campaign and delivered its campaign, obviously to the detriment of world opinion, but actually from a military point of view, I think there's a different conversation to be had there in terms of the casualties and so forth. The way they've conducted it has been, pretty impressive in many ways, but there has been the downside of the way the world opinion has followed this. But Saudi and these other countries are definitely not pro-Hamas, and they are definitely, in a way, delighted. Maybe too strong a word, but actually may not be too strong a word. Delighted that Israel is taking Hamas out and is trying to create a different situation. We shouldn't forget that something like 70% of the people of Gaza voted for Hamas, and Hamas' declared intent is that Israel will be wiped off the map. So, Israel's got, in my view, has got no option but to do what it's doing. And its relationship with the Saudis and indeed other Arab nations prior to October, the October event, was actually getting, relatively stable. They were beginning to build relationships. People acknowledged this has been going on obviously since 1947, or the 48 war, the 56, the 67 war, the 73 war. I think everybody in the Middle East has said, we've got to a point here where we've got to accept that Israel is here. We're going to have to deal with it, work with it, and we need to move on. And Hamas, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, well, I don't think it, I know there's no doubt in my mind, that October the 17th was a deliberate act in order to try to get Israel to respond in the way that it's responded, in order to try and drive a wedge back between the Arab world as a whole and between Israel. I think they failed in that. I mean, Israel, I think, walked into a trap in all sorts of ways, which we could discuss, but I think Hamas has failed in its intent to bring back that wider division between the Arab world and Israel. And I don't think there's any doubt that the rest of the Arabs want this thing to settle down and they want to move on. The question, I think, one of the questions is, okay, what does that mean for Hezbollah and northern Israel? But this distinction between Sunni and Shia is, a really powerful driver in the Middle East. And it's one of the things that I think we collectively, the West, and I have to say particularly the Americans, did not get right, did not fully understand, actually, in Iraq, when we went into Iraq. And I remember a conversation in the Foreign Office where, and I'm not exaggerating, a senior Foreign Office official, a British Foreign Office official, said, religion's got nothing to do with this. He was an atheist. He wasn't interested in religion at all. He believed that the UK would become an atheist nation pretty quickly, that Christianity was gone, and that I couldn't believe some of the things he was saying. This lack of understanding about the Arab world and this huge division between Sunnis and Shia, and it has it has had and will continue to have an important impact in the Middle East and indeed elsewhere in the world.
It's impossible for me. I really can't understand how anybody could be as that person you've just described was. I mean, how do you account for the fact that Hamas has written into its Articles of Association that Israel should be obliterated? They
Yeah,
regard
absolutely.
Jews as subhuman. The attack they launched on October the 7th was an unbelievable and extraordinary assault on everything you might regard as representing civilization and decent values and standards. It was absolutely brutal and cruel beyond belief, and they boasted of it. Not even the Nazis boasted when they about the gas chambers. They didn't want it known in their own country, let alone in the world. But these people boasted, and yet Hamas is winning the global propaganda war.